Good morning. My name is Brent Lee. I'm the managing editor of allthingsecc.com, and we're broadcasting on our Facebook web page for All Things ECC. Joining us today are Greg Kandel and Jason Klink, both with Informer Sstems and, as they like to call it, Schedule Express, which is their major product. And today we're going to talk about automated scheduling programs. So I mentioned you both work for him, Jason, but I know that that isn't always the case. You were a user of Schedule Express and now you're an employee. Tell me what's up with that.
So I was working in public safety for the better part of 25 years. About 16 years of that I was in a volunteer fire service, where 2 years I served as fire chief. And then concurrently, I worked 19 years as a dispatcher and a dispatch supervisor for the 911 center here in Syracuse, New York. When I first got promoted in 2012, we were managing our schedules on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month in 3 different places with a pencil. So after a few supervisors meetings, I breached the question of why in 2012 or 13 at the time, we were still managing our schedules in 3 different places with a pencil. And why aren't we leveraging the technologies that are available to us here at that point in time? So our workforce was around 125 people, and that can be difficult to coordinate under normal circumstances. Then you throw in emergency responses that have to be mitigated as part of the job. And it was really critical to have certain systems in place to be able to support those type of responses. So fast forward now to 2019, and I decided to leave civil service and go into the business world to support public safety. And working at Schedule Express was pretty much a natural fit to be able to still work within and with my public safety colleagues.
Good.
Yeah.
So you're not directly in the role anymore, but like, as you said, you really haven't left public safety sector. Imagine you still have plenty of friends and colleagues on the ground, boots on the ground, people that you know and work with.
Mm-hmm.
And today's day, the impacts of coronavirus are crazy. You know, it's affected industries, companies, individuals, public safety, severely impacted.
Yep.
So what's your experience with how that's changing things? Whether it's firsthand that you've dealt with it now or in conversation with others.
Yeah, I still have a lot of friends and even just as many colleagues that are working in public safety. Challenging times for all of them, between the pandemic to some of the civil unrest that's been going on. And, you know, the impacts have been significant. And being able to manage your resources, both human and otherwise, is very important. And scheduling is part of those challenges. You know, coordinating a small group of 25 all the way to a large group of over 100 comes with its different qualifications, different availabilities, different needs, overtime to be filled. And all of that is particularly challenging for, you know, public safety supervisors, managers, and administrators.
Right, I agree. Mm-hmm. Greg, I know your perspective's a little bit different. You've never been directly in the role of a public safety individual.
Right.
But you do have a long history. You and I have known each other for a number of years. You've been involved in the public safety sector for a long time.
Long time.
How do your experiences compare to Jason's, and tell me how they're different?
Well, you know, Brent, there's similarities, but they're very different, right? You know, as you just said, you know, I've been supporting the public safety industry really for about 35 years. So, and like you said, we've been friends a very long time. You know, we can't compare what we do at Informer Sstems to the efforts that, you know, the agencies and such as Jason and all the agencies out there do today. So, you know, we're on the support side of things. They're out there living it. So, you know, with that being said, I do want to thank all the first responders who are actively serving us today. And Jason, as always, I thank you again. So, just so you know, it's a tough job, and you guys need all the help you can get. So, particularly with the COVID-19 and the the protests and the riots and everything else, you're working hard. So, it is tough. And like I say, we're here to support you any way we can. So, I've heard through a lot of friends and colleagues, different accounts, and, I interact daily with all three of these groups. And, the impact is really on the scheduling. And, we see our role in supporting that as a huge responsibility. It is an exercise in trust. And, it's why, it's so important our products work reliably. And they do. They really help out. We're supporting one of the most critical services in public safety and the different entities within public safety. And we got to do it well. So on that front, just like Jason said, more important now than ever, right? So what I'm hearing and seeing is, you're having problems out there putting together emergency schedules on short notice. Things are not changing by the week any longer or by the day, they're changing by the minute. People are calling out sick. There's lots of issues going on where you've got to put together maybe 12-hour shifts instead of 10-hour shifts or 8-hour shifts. You're juggling things around to keep your coverage at a minimum, right? And so that is really, really tough. More impactful now than ever because of the coronavirus, and that's made it really tough out there. So I have to say that these are the biggest things we're seeing on our side of the industry. So we're all trying to adapt to the new climate.
Yeah, that's for sure. No doubt. That's why we're doing this stuff from home instead of from a studio setting or something.
Right. Much safer, but we still have to support all of this. It's a different environment, Brent. It really is.
Right. Can you tell me how Schedule Express supports public safety agencies in particular, and any other thoughts about that aspect of it?
Yeah, I will say that I'm kind of repeating myself, but nobody could have predicted this pandemic. But now it's more important than ever that we the processes the agencies have in place are able to support the chaotic demands that are going on. So, and they have to be able to adapt and adjust very quickly. So, we consider ourselves at Informer Sstems fortunate to be in the position to support the operations during this mess, if you will. So, that what we see out there, manual scheduling, and again, going back to Jason, he just talked a little bit about it. It's a juggling act, working in an Excel spreadsheet, a calendaring system, pencil, eraser, whiteout, to adjust your scheduling. What that can really relate to and come to is dropping the metaphorical ball, meaning coverage gap, fatigue workers. People get tired of they're working too many hours. It's hard to track. And agencies actually then open themselves up to liabilities. Not to mention the manual process is really time consuming. So, automated scheduling has a lot of benefits, so many. So, it's beyond ensuring accurate coverage, that can quickly be created. It prioritizes the safety of the workers by managing the fatigue. It tracks hours. You want something that it lets that gives you an indicator that somebody is working too many hours or there could be a problem there. So you want to reduce fatigue and translate into safety of the citizens they serve as well. So you really want to do that. So you want to eliminate the potential for human error, and that's what automation does. And I like to say all the time, automation through scheduling solves problems before they exist. With warnings, with able to process quickly, with help from the program. So it's nearly impossible to do all that with a manual process. So our program tracks essential data, creates warnings and flags. It really helps you out there. So, it really helps out with problems that could be problematic. The human eye might not catch, and things like identifying shifts that need to be filled. Not only do you will it let you know where you're short. It's going to let you know what type of person would have to fill those, who's eligible, qualified, available to slot in, based on maybe hours worked or not worked, or qualifications of that employee. So you need to know right away who's available to fill those positions. You have to take into account all of that, to really help you manage, and you have to do it quickly. So that you've got to look at the impact of overtime, to your agency, and you need a system that will help you there. And that's what we do by automating. So, more importantly, right now and as always, it saves so much more time. Now, if you think about it, depending on the size of your agency, and I can go from very small, maybe 25 to 35 users. If you look at it and really add up the hours, you're probably spending a minimum doing in a manual process of 20 to 30 hours a week just managing the schedule, creating your schedule, building your schedule, making the changes, exception management, overtime, shift bidding, vacation bidding. You're doing all that manually, and you're putting in a minimum of 20 hours. And you get into the larger agencies, and you're looking at it could be into the hundreds of hours per week spent on scheduling tasks, for a large customer. So you really want to cut that down. When you consider the cost of the labor hours spent on the employee wages, there's a significant cost there. So with an automated system, you can reduce that number anywhere from 40 to 60%. So moving from a manual situation to an automated situation, again, 40 to 60% is a lot of time, which equates to a lot of money. So, it's money that can be well spent in other areas, especially now, and with the cuts that we're seeing and we will be seeing, I think, in the next year or so. So our goal is to maximize the efficiencies at your agencies, and especially in the face of the budget cuts. So anyway, thinking about it, scheduling is such a small part of the job these first responders do. So it shouldn't take up a significant amount of time or resources. We need them to focus on what they need to do, and that's supervise and help the employees out in other areas, not spend the day scheduling and moving people around and, checking coverages all day long.
Been there, done that.
Yeah,
for sure.
For quite a few years, Brent.
So Jason, as a former user, obviously an advocate now since you've joined the company.
Mm-hmm.
How do these features Greg described actually look in the field, to the people in the field?
So one of the challenges for any supervisor, manager, administrator of a public safety agency is to be able to adapt and modify and fill coverage quickly and accurately. It's the ability to manage your resources, to know who's available, who's qualified, who's already worked too many hours with that staff fatigue. If they worked already 48 out of the last 72 hours and it's just time for a break.
Right.
Most importantly, what if you get it wrong and now you got the wrong people in the wrong places at the wrong times? This provides a lot of liability. It's a lot of inefficiency when you're dealing with pencil and paper. Being able to manage that fatigue, to be able to make intelligent decisions on the scheduling that you're doing for your people, super important. And the other part of it is when you're doing the schedule, even though it's a small part of the entire operation, but when you're doing the schedule and you're making these changes, using the technology to get all that information in full communication with your entire staff. So using text message and email and a mobile app and software as the system itself. And then you go into, as a supervisor or manager, the ability to have a full cache of reports and even customized reports. But these supervisors can go in and do an overtime report to see how much overtime somebody's worked or maybe not worked, and are they available to be mandated to work overtime. You got different work summaries about where people are working, what positions they're working in. You have the absence detail reports to figure out where all the absences are occurring, and then you can go in and create a daily roster or a roster report and rotate around where your public safety telecommunicators are working in each radio spot or phone spot, or in the police department, maybe which territories they're working in, and if you want to rotate them around that way. All of these reports give you valuable information. I know the last center that I was at, it used to, before Schedule Express, it used to be, 3-4 different shifts of 16 plus hours of managing the schedule just for the month.
Right.
Which after Schedule Express, it was 1 or 2 schedulers still doing their jobs, but managing the schedule, and only took, a couple, 3-4 hours to be able to completely manage the schedule for the month. So, I mean, that's instant time savings.
Right.
It's added functionality to the users. It's faster, it's reliable. And realistically, with all of that, as Greg said, it actually saves more time than it costs. And, it's just a complete value to the workforce. It extends that savings to be able to take that savings and put it somewhere else, because you're saving time and money. And you know what? There's a lot of agencies across the country to this day that are still using manual processes versus embracing the technology that's available out there.
Absolutely.
Right, and I agree. It's and probably a lot more than we can imagine.
Right.
I do want to touch something that hit me while you were describing everything that it can do, and as a prior administrator in my career too, we constantly dealt with contractual issues, union issues with our employees. Does your company provide a way to deal with that? Can that be entered in there so that this automated system automatically looks at that and tracks that also? Right.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, Brent, because, the one thing that all agencies have in common is no two agencies schedule alike, right? So you can't really offer a one size fits all answer here, because it just doesn't exist. And you have to be able to configure, like you're saying, the rules, the roles, what people can do, can't do, can see, can't see. It could be union rules, it could be city rules, local rules. Could be your department rules. They have to be built into a system. So again, I go back to no two agencies schedule alike. Every customer we have is configured somewhat differently based on their rule sets. So yeah, you have to have a solution such as Schedule Express that will allow you to do that. So we do that. Your work's so important. For sure that you have to be able to set the rules up to help you schedule and manage that schedule.
So in a time when everybody is using smartphones to do everything from shopping to banking, and it's just making life easier, maybe briefly you can both talk about why people are still doing that. Why are they using pencil and paper?
Well, go ahead, Jason.
Yep, I'm sorry. You know what? Realistically, change is hard to come by, and there's an old saying in the fire service: "We've always done it this way. Why do we need to change it now?" So
I
change,
agree.
yeah, change is just slow, and unfortunately, being slow and resistant to change makes it that much more dangerous. And unfortunately, it can't be that simple. So, after enough time and exposure, managers of public safety agencies finally are able to jump on board with the technology that's available, but it does take time.
Right. And that is so true. I agree with you, and we're all guilty. I mean, every one of us here on the call and everybody, that's watching today, we're all guilty of resisting change in our own way. We just do. We push back. We're used to the same old, same old. And like you say, Jason, we've always done it this way. So, you think about, you got to realize that, new technologies are better, but still, again, it takes time. It's a true transition. So, it's just hard to change. But once you make the change, everything works great. I use the old analogy, remember when we all used to use a typewriter, whiteout and all of that. And then, Microsoft Word and WordPerfect came out, and we always said, well, who's going to learn that? Well, now most people don't even know what a typewriter looks like, right? And it is a change, but, getting used to those types of changes are a transition.
Right.
Yep.
Well, we're running a little long here, so quickly I'm going to ask you this. I know that your goal pretty much has been to educate, not so much as a sales pitch. So what should somebody do if they want to learn more about automated scheduling?
Well,
even if they don't have the money and they're not ready to make the jump.
That's fine, and we're happy to talk to everybody about their situation, consult with them, and that's there's no charge for that. So feel free to give me a call if you have any questions, want to talk about your situation, how we can help you automate, and I know we can do that, and we can talk about how you do things today, how we can assist you with your scheduling tasks. So even if you're not ready to implement, like Brent just said, you know, I'm happy to have a dialogue with anybody out there. So you can reach me directly at Kandel, that's GKANDEL at informersstems.com, or you can jump onto our website at www.informersystems.com to contact me direct, whatever is easiest. I'm here as a resource for you, and I'm here to help. So anyway, I hope we can help you out there, and I hope Schedule Express can play a role in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, gentlemen. I want to take this opportunity to thank you both for being on. Very informative. I'm sure that the people watching have questions, or should have questions if they've been listening to it. And I want to advise our viewers that this will be posted on allthingsecc.com, and it will remain up on the All Things ECC Facebook page if you want to rewatch it or missed any of the information. Great. Again, thank you, gentlemen. Have a really good day. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good day.